Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, kindly do so please. And also click on the notification bell to get updates when I post a new video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make an asymmetric dress with double ruffle and armhole princess bustier. The pattern paper is on a fold. This is the front and the back. This is the zipper line. This is the center line that separates the front and the back. I use the biggest part of the body to draft the front and the back. I use the hip divided by 4. I've gone ahead to take the vertical measurement. I took the shoulder to bust point, shoulder to waist, shoulder to hip, and also shoulder to the full length I'm working with. I added 2 inches for seam allowance. Then on the back, I took the shoulder to back half length, and this is the real waistline. Then I took the shoulder to hip and full length. Now the first measurement I'll be taking is the shoulder measurement, and for this measurement her shoulder is 17 inches. 17 divided by 2 will give us 8.5, so I'm adding half an inch for seam allowance. Then I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then on the neck width, I'll be using 4 inches for this measurement here. I'll be deciding on the neck later on, so I'll just connect this shoulder slope to the neck width like this. After doing that, from this point, from this shoulder slope, I'll take the chest line. So the chest line is 8 inches. I'll connect it this way. Then after doing that, I'll do the same thing for the back. I'll take the shoulder measurement, which is the same as the front, 17 inches divided by 2. I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll take 4 inches for the neck width. Then I'll connect it to meet the neck width like this. Then I'll also take from this point and take the chest line, which is 8 inches. So I'll just connect a straight line to meet the front chest line. Now I'll be imputing the shoulder measurement on the chest line here. So I have 9 inches, so I'll place it here and take a straight line. After doing that, I'll do the same thing for the back. I'll just place the shoulder measurements, I beg your pardon, on the chest line. Then the next thing I'll be taking is the midpoint of this line. Then I'll come in by 0.75 or 3/4. Then I'll connect a straight line to meet the 3/4 inches like this. Then the next thing I'll be doing is to take the bust circumference. For her measurement, her bust is 39. 39 divided by 4 will give us 9/3. So I'm adding 1 inch for ease. That's not the seam allowance. I'll be adding the seam allowance later, so I'll just connect it this way. So I'll repeat what I have here on the back. So I'll get the center line, but for this I'll come in by half an inch. Then I'll take a straight line. Then I'll get the bust circumference. Then I'll add 1 inch for ease. We have our armhole. Now I'll be taking the bust pan measurement, and our bust pan is 8 inches. 8 inches divided by 2 will give us 4 inches. So I'll place it on the bust point, on the waist, and on the hip line like this. Then I'll come up by 2 inches from the hip line. Then from the bust point, I'll come down by 1 inch. Then I'll take a straight line to meet the hip line like this. Then I'll take half inch on both sides on the waist line like this. So that will be 1 inch for my dart. So I'll connect it to meet this bust point like this. Then I'll also connect from the waist to meet the hip point like so. So I'll do the same thing on the back. For the back dart, I'll come down by 2 inches from the chest line here. Then I'll take 4.5 inches for the dart. I'm adding half an inch for the bust pan here. So I'll repeat it on the waistline, and on the hip line I'll come up by 3 inches. Remember on the front I came up by 2 inches, but for the back I came up by 3 inches. So I've connected the lines. I'll take half inch on both sides. I'm placing the dart on the back half length, as you can see, like this. Then I'll connect it to meet the hip line. Now we are done with our dart. I'll be taking the circumference measurement. So I've taken the bust circumference. Now I'll be taking the waist. Her waist is 34. 34 divided by 4 will give us 8.5. I'm adding 1 inch for darts. So I've replaced the darts. Now on the hip line, I'll take her hip measurement, which is 43. 43 divided by 4 will give us 10.75. I'm not adding seam allowance yet. I'll be adding it later. So what I have on the hip measurement here, I'll replace it on the full length. It's not a pencil dress, it's a straight dress. So I'll just connect the lines like this. So I'll repeat what I did on the front, I'll repeat it on the back. So for the back, I've also taken the bust circumference. Now I'll be taking the waist circumference, which is 8.5. I'll replace this 1 inch for that here. Then on the hip line, I'll take the 10.75 I have on the front. So what I have on the hip line, I'll replace it on the full length, just like I did for the front. So I'll just connect my lines. So on the back half length, I'll come in by 0.75 for the back tightening to avoid zip bulge. So from this point, I'll connect it straight to this 1 inch on the neckline like this. Then from this 0.75, I'll connect it to the 1 inch on the hip line. Then from the hip line, I'll connect it in like this to meet this point like this. So this will give the back a good fit. On the waistline, I'll be cutting through the line. So I did like a 2-in-1 to save time, so I don't have to cut the top and the skirt separately. So this is the front skirt pattern. It's on the fold, as you can see. Now I'm cutting out the back pattern also. So I'll cut out this excess I have. So this is the back skirt pattern. We have 2 of it. Now we'll be working on the top part of the pattern. So I'll take the shoulder to under bust, and for her measurement, the shoulder to under bust is 15 inches. So I'll just draw across like this. Now to get our armhole princess dart, I'll get the center line of the armhole here. Then from the bust point, I'll connect it to meet the center line on the armhole. So I'll be using my pattern master to shape it this way. So after doing that, to get the dart on the armhole, I'll come down by 1 inch here. So I'll also go up by 1 inch from this point like this. Then I'll use my pattern master to make like a curvy shape to meet the bust point like this. So we have our darts. Then I'll reshape the armhole from this new line I took. So this is the new armhole. Now I'll be doing the same thing on the back panel. I'll get the center line of this armhole, and from this point I'll connect it to meet the armhole with my pattern master like this. I won't be taking any dart. I'll only go up by 1 inch here, and I'll connect it and reshape the armhole. So we are done with the back pattern. Now we'll go back to the front to get our bustier cup. From the under bust, I'll take her under bust circumference. Our under bust is 34. 34 divided by 4 will give us 8.5. I have excess of 1.5 inches. So I'll divide this 1.5 inches into 2 equal half. So when I divide it, I have 0.75. So I'll place it here and also here. That will be 1.5 inches. So this is the first 0.75 and this is the other one. So I'll use my pattern master to form the cup like this. From the bust point, I'll shape it to meet the 0.75 I just took like this. So this is where I connected it to. So from this second bust point, I'll connect it to meet the 0.75 on the other side like this. So from this point, I'll connect it to meet the dart leg. I'll extend the dart to meet the dart leg like this. So now we are done with our cup. So for the next style, I'll be making a sweetheart neckline. So I'll come down by maybe, let's say 7 inches from this point. Remember, I've already taken our neck width here, 4 inches. So I'll just decide how I want it. So I'll make like a V shape from the beginning. I really don't know how to explain this. So I'll just take like a broken line like this. So when I get to this point, I'll make like a V shape to meet the 7 inches like this to make my sweetheart neckline. So I'll reshape it like this. Sorry, I don't know how to explain this. So after doing that, the next thing I'll be doing is I forgot to take the side dart. That is the difference between the front and the back. So I'll cut out this excess on the back waist. Remember, we are using the back half length. So the back half length is 16 and the front is 17. So the difference between the front and the back is 1 inch. So I'll place the 1 inch on the bust point. So from this bust line, I'll come down by 1 inch. Then I'll connect it to the bust point. But for this person, she's a little bit busty. So I'll come in by 1 inch like this. Then I'll connect this 1 inch to meet this point. So we are done with our side dart. So for the back neckline, I'll just come down by maybe, let's say 8 inches. Remember, I've already taken the back width, which is 4 inches. So I'll connect it with my pattern master. I'm making like a U shape, or should I say V shape? Anyway, this is our back neckline. Now I'll be cutting out the pattern like this. So I'm cutting the center first. Then I'll cut out the neckline like this. Remember, that part is a little bit sharp. So this is the center front. This is our sweetheart neckline. So I'll go ahead and cut out this part of the side front. So I'll close this side dart. I'll be closing it to meet the bust point line like this. So I'll use my masking tape to tape it. So this will make the front and the back side to be equal. So now I'll cut out the excess on the back. I'll eliminate all this part I don't need. So this is our pattern. I'm cutting 2 of this. So I'll be drafting it on the fabric and I'll show you. This is the front skirt and the back skirt. So let's go ahead and cut it on the fabric. So I've placed it on the lining. This is the center front is on a fold. I added 1/2 inch for seam allowance. And also on the shoulder, I added 1/2 inch. And on the side, I added 2 inches for seam allowance. Then on the other side, I added 1/2 inch. Then on the back, I also did the same thing. I added 1/2 inch. So this is how I added my seam allowance, 1/2 inch. So on the side back, I also added 2 inches like I did for the front. So I'll be drafting it on the main fabric. So on the skirt, I added 2 inches for seam allowance. Remember, on the side front, we added 2 inches. So I did the same thing on the skirt. So I added 1/2 inch on the waistline. And on the zip part, I didn't add allowance because I've already added seam allowance. So I've gone ahead to cut it out on the fabric. So this is the fabric. So now I'll be drafting the sleeve. I'll be dropping the link on the description box on how to draft a basic sleeve. So I'm making 2 types of sleeve, 2 different types of sleeve. So one sleeve will be a normal sleeve and the second sleeve will be a circular sleeve. So this is the lining I'm using. It's on a fold. So I double fold it. So I'll have like four folds. So our round armhole is 17 inches. So I'll get the radius of 17 inches. That is 17 divided by 6.28. That will give me 2.5. So her full length is 10 inches plus 2.5. I'll have about, let's say 13 inches. So I'll just take 13 inches all round like this. Then I'll take the 2.5 inches for the radius like this. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this is the circular sleeve. So I'll be cutting this on the main fabric later. So now I'll be going to the skirt. So to form our asymmetric style, from this hip point, I'll take like a curved line to the full length here. But I won't get to the full length. I'll come up by 2 inches because the full length, that's the hemline, is going to have another ruffle. So that will serve as space for the second ruffle here. So from this point, I'll just shape it to meet these 2 inches I came up with. Sorry, I misplaced my hip ruler, so I'll be using my pattern master. Then I'll also use a straight ruler to complete the line or to complete the curve shape. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So I'll place it on the fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut it on the fabric. So this is the back. I've gone ahead to pin it up, the 1 inch for seam allowance. I've pinned it. So this is the good side of the back. I'll place the front, the good side of the front on the good side of the back skirt. So I'll just cut it out like this. So now this is the front and the back. Now I'll take the measurement from the waist here down to this point. I'll get the measurement. So I have about 35 inches. So I'll times 35 by 3. So I'll cut it for the front and for the back. So 35 times 3 is 105. So 105. So I'll be cutting the strip by 105. That is the length. So I'll cut it for the front and for the back. That will be about 210 or so. So for the second strip that will be on the hemline, I'll get the measurement also. So I have about 25 inches. So I'll also triple the measurement. That I'll times 25 into 3 to cut the strip. So for the bigger strip, I'm using 10 inches for the length. So I've cut it out by 105 inches. So I'm cutting 2 of it. I'm trying to get the measurements. So I'll just cut 2. Then I'll also cut out the smaller strip for the hemline. So the length I have is about 6 inches. Anyway, 7 inches. I'm using 1 inch for joining. So I tripled the measurement to cut the smaller strip. So now for the top. So this is the front. I'll be joining the front and the back. I'll go ahead and join it and I'll show you. So I've joined the upper part of the top. If you have been following my tutorials, you will understand how to join the bustier. So this is the lining. So I added wadding to it and I stitched it by 1/2 inch. I also went ahead to notch it. Then I ironed it flat. So this is the cup. Then this is the main fabric. It will be on top like this. So I've gone ahead to also stitch the back top. I did it by 1/2 inch and I also ironed it. So this is the lining. So now we'll go back to the skirt and we'll join our ruffles or our strip. So to make our strip, I will be pleating it this way, like this. So I'm pleating it by 2 inches. So after pinning it, I'll pick this other part and pin it also. You can gather it if you want. I decided to pleat this particular style because of the fabric is kind of hard. So I want it to be a little bit smooth. Let it not be too rough. That's why I didn't gather it. So I'm pleating it by 2 inches like this. So I'll continue to do that till I get to the end. So what I'll do is I'll take it to the machine. I'll be taking it to the sewing machine to sew on top of it. Then I'll show you. So I've gone ahead to pleat it and I top stitch it to hold the pleats. So this is the front and the back. So I'll be placing it on the skirt now. So this is the front skirt. I'll start placing it from the waist. When I get to this point, I'll curve it and I'll sew it till I get to the end. So to do that, I'll make sure the good side of the ruffle is on the good side of the skirt like this. So I'll place it on the waist. Then I'll pin it up and show you. Like I said, you can gather it if you want. It will still come out nice. So when I sew it, it will look like this. So I'll be stitching it up all around to the end. So for the back, this is the zipper allowance. So I've pinned it up. I also hemmed the ruffle. I forgot to mention that. So I'll be placing the good side on the good side and I'll take it to the sewing machine and I'll show you when I'm done. So this is the ruffles. I've stitched it to the skirt and this is the front skirt also. So now I'll be joining this other smaller part of the skirt we cut out earlier. I'll be joining it back. So I'll pin it up also. We are joining it by 1/2 inch. So after joining it, I'll place the smaller ruffle we cut out earlier. I've also gone ahead to pleat it and I've also hemmed it. So I'll place the good side on the good side of the ruffle like this from the hemline and I'll pin it up. So this is how it will look when we sew it. This is the first one and the second one. So I'll do the same thing for the back skirt. So I'll place the smaller part here. I'll make sure this seam allowance is aligning with the skirt. That's the top part of the skirt, and I'll join it by 1/2 inch. So when I'm done joining it, I'll place the second ruffles on the hemline of the back skirt like this. That's the good side, would be on the good side. So I'll sew it and I'll show you when I'm done. So I'm done joining the skirt. So this is the back skirt, this is the first ruffle, and this is the second one on the hemline. This is the zipper allowance. Then this is the front. I did the same thing. This is the top part and this is the lower part. Now on the skirt, I'll fix the darts on the skirt, then I'll place it, the top and the skirt together, and I'll join it by 1/2 inch. So let me pin it up. And on the back, I'll do the same thing. I'll join it here. That's the top on the skirt. I'll fix the darts. After fixing the dart, then I'll join it here, the top and the skirt, by 1/2 inch. I'll also do the other side of the skirt. I'll fix the dart and I'll join it by 1/2 inch. So on the lining is not going to have a ruffle, so you don't even need to cut the lining like I did. So I'm going to join it back by 1/2 inch because the lining is going to be on its own. So after joining it, I'll join the waist. That's the top and the skirt. I'll join it on the waist. I'll do the same thing on the back. So this is the front. I've gone ahead to join the top and the skirt together. So the next step is to sew the neckline. So I'll be placing the good side of the lining on the good side of the fabric, and I'll sew it by 1/4 inch. When I get to this point, I'll make sure I sew it very carefully, and I'll continue till I get to the end. So I'll pin it up. So I'll sew it by 1/4 inch. So on the back, I'll fix the zip. So I'll go ahead and sew it, and I'll come back and show you. So I've fixed the neckline. I've stitched it by 1/4 inch. Then this is the back. I've also fixed the zipper. Now I'll open it up this way. Then I'll take the good side of the lining on the good side of the fabric, and I'll sew it by 1/4 inch on the neckline like this. After doing that, I'll turn it over to the other side. Then I'll sew it close to the zip like this. So I'm trying to pin it up. So I'll be sewing it, and I'll stop where the zip stops so that it will be together with the lining like this. So I'll do that and show you. So I've fixed the zip. So as you can see, it's with the lining. I've done the neckline. Now I'll be joining the shoulder. That is the front and back shoulder. I'll make sure it aligns here. So I'll just go ahead and pin it up. So I'll be stitching it by 1/2 inch. When I sew it, I'll have something like this. So I'll do the same thing on the other part of the shoulder. I'll make sure it's aligning, good side facing each other. Then I'll pin it up. So when I join the shoulder, the next thing I'll be doing is to join the front and the back together. I'll retake the measurements. So I'll take her bust circumference. Her bust is 39. 39 divided by 2 will give us 19 inches. So when I place the 19 inches here, I have excess of about 4.5 inches. So when I divide 4.5 into 2, I'll have 2.25. So I'll place 2.25 here and here. So I'll take her under bust. Her under bust is 34 inches. 34 divided by 2 will give us 17 inches. So when I place the 17 inches here, I have excess of 4 inches. So I'll divide the 4 inches into 2. So I'll place 2 inches here and 2 inches here. And on her waist is 34. 34 divided by 2 will give us 17 inches. So I have excess of 3 inches. I'll divide it into 2 and I'll place 1.5 here and here. On her hips is 43 inches. 43 divided by 2 will give us 21.5. So I have excess of 4 inches. So I'll place 2 inches here and 2 inches here. So I'll take the 2 inches to the full length. Now the next thing I'll do is to tuck this part of the ruffles in like this. Then I'll tuck the other part, that is the back of the ruffle. I'll tuck it in, and I'll make sure it's aligning on the waist here and on the armhole. Then I'll take the measurement. I'll mark the measurement I just took. I'll mark it and sew it till I get to the full length. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll mark the measurement and I'll sew it till I get to the end. So I'll do that and I'll show you. So I've joined the dress. This is the front, this is the ruffle as you can see, and this is the lower part. So this is the other side of the dress. So I'll turn it over. This is the lining. I also joined it like I did for the main fabric. I used the same measurement. Then I'll hem the full length by 1/2 inch. Now on the sleeve, this is the armhole. I'll go ahead and join the sleeve. So I'll make sure the sleeve is 1 inch shorter. That is, the lining is 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. So I'll place the good side of the lining on the good side of the fabric, and I'll sew it on the hemline by 1/2 inch. So I'm trying to pin it up. So when I sew it, it will look like this. So fold it like this. That's the good side facing each other. Then I'll sew it by 1 inch till I get to the end. I'm also trying to pin it up so that I'll show you what it will look like when I sew it. So I'll turn it to the good side after sewing it. So this is what it will look like. So the effect of cutting the lining by 1 inch, it will make the lining to be a little bit inside. So the main fabric will be showing outside. So I'll tuck it in on the armhole. So I'll be sewing it by 1/2 inch. So on the second sleeve, remember this is a circular sleeve, I'll also cut out the lining by 1 inch. After cutting it out, I'll place the good side of the lining on the good side of the fabric, and I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch and show you. So I've joined it by 1/2 inch, so I'll turn it to the good side. So I'll give it a good press later. So I'll join it to the armhole and show you. So this is the circular sleeve. I stitched it by 1/2 inch, and this is the normal sleeve. I also did the same thing. I stitched it by 1/2 inch. So you can actually use bias tape to pipe it so that it will look neat. We are done with today's class. So this is the ruffles. This is the full dress. I hope the tutorial was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. Thanks for watching.